Here's the Tascam DR701D. This has been out for a while, but I just bought it and I'm going to compare it to some other recorders. But before I do that, I'm going to unbox this for the first time. Oh, it doesn't feel like a cheap plastic like the Zoom recorders do, but it doesn't feel as substantial as some other recorders. Okay, I'm just getting a tactile feel of this device. Oh yeah, all these knobs here, they feel sort of cheap, but functional. It's pretty lightweight. Yeah, some metal rings here, and up here is the, oh, it's held by a little wire there. What is this? Okay, that's where you put the batteries. Where do you put the SD card? Oh, the SD card goes right there. All right. Why is it double covered like this? I don't think this is water resistant. And on the bottom, you have your tripod mount there. And then on the top, you have ooh, this just fell out. Oh, I think this is just a placeholder for this top plate. I got the 701D to be used as an audio recorder for my cameras, my mirrorless cameras. And I have a few that I use because I don't have an XLR adapter. I'm a Panasonic shooter when it comes to video. So here's the GH5S in a small rig cage. And then this is the BGH1 that I had just purchased. And they both have, Panasonic sells their XLR adapter that is supposed to, where it does go into their smart shoes, and then the XLR adapter is powered by the camera and it can accept the audio. I think it's up to 96 kilohertz or 24-bit, pretty high, higher than the camera by itself. But I was thinking I also wanted some redundancy when it comes to audio, and I want other options when it comes to audio. I want to be able to mix more than maybe 2 channels and use the camera as a scratch or in an emergency, but have my primary audio come from audio recorder. And that's, you know, how it used to be back in the day when DSLRs first got into filmmaking. People were doing dual system. And now that these cameras have gotten a lot better, people have been moving away from dual system because it's kind of a pain in the neck in post. But I care more about audio than video, so that's why I got the Tascam here, because this was the only recorder, after doing some research, that is supposed to blend very well for this exact purpose, to have camera audio that you can have XLR and have multiple channels, and then have it in the recorder in a higher quality, but then also have it feeding into the cameras. And this is the only device, I believe, this is, if not the only device, it's the cheapest device, that it has a HDMI, where is the, yeah, it has HDMI in and out. And what this is supposed to do is to sync with the Panasonic cameras, and then it's supposed to trigger it. So when you hit record on, I don't know about the BGH1, but the GH5, when you hit record, this records, and then that's how it's able to be in sync. So that's what this is meant for. And then the out is if you have to go back to a monitor. There's also a monitor line in and out. Yeah, so there's headphones and a monitor in. So what this means is that you basically you're going to use this recorder as both for everything audio, and you're going to plug for the headphone jack. The headphone jack goes into here, into the monitor, and then the mic goes into there too. This doesn't come with any cables, so I'll have to get cables. But I'm going to do a test with that. I'm not going to test the internal audio, because I'll do that maybe in another video. But I really want to see what it sounds like when I'm running one of my higher quality shotgun microphones. And in this case, it's the Sennheiser MKH 416, a classic workhorse in the film industry. And I'm gonna run this through this Tascam and into the cameras. In this case, I'll run it into this camera right now that I'm shooting on, which is the Sony A6600. And then when I do more tests, I'll test it with the Panasonic cameras. But I'm gonna do that, and we'll see what it sounds like. But I'll also run it to compare it. I also own a Sound Devices MixPre-6 Mark II. This is the second version. This is really good. This is a little more expensive than this Tascam here. And it almost does the same thing. It has something, a mounting plate where you can mount on the top, a camera on the top or on the bottom. And it was designed, it could be used as a separate audio recorder, but it was also designed to marry with cameras so you can have dual sound backup. And then the last device I have to test, which isn't a recorder, but it's this BeachTek. This is the BeachTek DXA-MICRO PRO Plus. There's a regular Pro and a Pro Plus. And then the difference is that this Pro Plus, it has a USB power. There's a internal power. And then the other version has a 9-volt battery that has powered the phantom power. So this is one XLR here. And on this side, you have 3.5 millimeter jacks. You have two. You have a total of three. You have right and left in, and then one XLR. And you can also just run a stereo if you don't want to do two monos. And then you can control all of them here, and you can turn on the phantom power if you need phantom power. And this also is a device that a camera can go on top of, can mount on top, or you can mount this on the hot shoe on top of the camera. This is pretty heavy, and now having just unboxed this Tascam without batteries inside is much lighter than this BeachTek. This BeachTek is a solid piece of metal. This could become a weapon. This is feels like a brick, like you could throw this at somebody and do some damage. But this Tascam, I think if I drop this on the carpet, it's gonna snap in two. But anyway, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to stop this video, and on this A6600 right now, I'm gonna test each one of these devices with the Sennheiser MKH416, and I'm gonna run it directly into the camera. You're only going to hear what the camera's audio. You're not going to hear the audio from the devices. Okay, let's see. I'm pointing the shotgun microphone at my mouth right now so that you could hear. I'm just going to do. So you can't hear me right now. I'm going to get this shotgun mic and I'm going to point it at me. So right now I'm pointing the shotgun mic at my mouth, and here's with the interface. It took me a second to set all this stuff up because it wasn't as intuitive, but I figured it out. It wasn't that hard. I'm powering this device on this USB battery pack, so this can accept batteries, and it could just accept the USB power, and that's what I have it set to right now. There's no batteries inside, and right now I have the phantom power on. I am not recording internally. I'm just recording on my camera, and this is what it sounds like. So I have the gain kind of set high. I was supposed to do a slate, and what you do when you're trying to match the camera to the audio recorder is you send a slate signal, a tone, and then that tone is supposed to be set at 0 dB or negative 12 dB in the camera here, and then that way you can match so the audio recorder would know, or the audio recordist would know that 12 o'clock here is 12 o'clock on the camera. I didn't do that because I just set it up pretty fast, but that's what you're supposed to do. But you're able to do that here. So you can see there's a slate, and then there's tone that you could send into the camera. And then also on this side, it says right here, it's a camera output, and that's what I have plugged into the Sony right now. And you could change the volume gain level out to the camera. I have the camera, the A6600, the volume is set all the way to number 1. So that's the lowest possible noise floor that you can accept in the camera. What's also good about this system with the exception of just having better sound and being able to utilize really good XLR microphones, is that this can record all the way up to 192 kilohertz, and this could do broadcast wave files, very professional files, and I think it's, for the most part, it should stay in sync. I have to test this if it's going to stay in sync with long interviews, because I am going to use this. The idea here is to use this for long documentary interviews that go on hour, 90 minutes long. So I hope I don't lose sync. I don't want it to lose sync. But right now it sounds pretty good. Besides the HDMI in-out and some of the features that are designed specifically to be connected to a camera, the other reason why I got this is that it has dual channels. So let's say I'm only rocking with one mic like I am right now, the shotgun microphone. What you can do here is utilize some of these other tracks and then have one track as your safety track. So have it 12 dBs lower. So that way when you're recording, you're gonna have 3 channels of audio. You're gonna have the regular audio, you're gonna have 2 channels of audio in here, the high and the low, and then you can choose one or the other to go into the camera, or both. You can have both in the camera. So on one side of the stereo pair, it can mirror that mode. So that's why, even though when I test the sound devices later, it has 32-bit float, and 32-bit float recording is basically like raw recording, and you could jack the gain all the way up and it won't clip when you go back and post. Here, it doesn't have 32-bit, but because you have the safety track, that should take care of you. And you can have the safety track for twice, because it's 4 inputs. So you can have channels 1 and 3 and 2 and 4 if you're recording 2 people, and then you'll have a safety track for both people, and you'll have multiple copies, backup copies, all about redundancy. So this is what it sounds like right now going through the Tascam. I'm not recording in the Tascam. This is just going into the Tascam, into the A6600 right now. So now I'm going to switch to another recorder. All right, now I'm running the MixPre-6 Mark II. I'm going to point this shotgun microphone. I'm pointing the MKH 416 towards my mouth now, and this is the same exact setup like the Tascam, but now I'm using the MixPre-6. So I have this powered with the same battery bank, but this time the USB is USB-C, not USB micro. And you can see here the interface is a lot more colorful and way more expensive. This is the same kind of concept, but this recorder is way more powerful and more expensive than the Tascam. Instead of having that backup track, this can do 32-bit float. So that means you don't need a backtrack. You can always recover the audio if you're recording internally here. And this has 4 tracks as well. You're able to send it to the recorder and then send it to some other recorders if you want to. This has the return as well on this side. So you could monitor everything from this device. And it's just it is a touchscreen interface, and this interface here is way more user-friendly than the Tascam. The Tascam's fine, but you have to dial through a lot of these settings, and there's a lot of settings on this sound devices as well, but it's all touchscreen, and as long as you have good fingers, you can navigate through it, but it is quite small, that LCD here. But yeah, this is what it sounds like. Do you notice a difference if it sounds better or worse? Now this is the BeachTek. I'm gonna put this microphone, all right. This is the BeachTek. This is the BeachTek DXA-MICRO PRO Plus. And what you'll notice that's a little different on this one is that there's stereo. One is higher than the other. And the way you do that is, since this is only a mono signal, there's only one XLR microphone, what I'm doing is I'm able to control the left and right channel independently, so I can have my backup track go into the camera. So this controls the outputs or the input of which left and right channel, and then going out here is a stereo out, and the stereo out. So I have 2 channels. That's what it's doing right now. Here there's a high and low for the preamp to jack it up. I have them both on low because they're pretty powerful. So I have the phantom power enabled and everything is on right now. And you can see here as well, there's a monitor in and a headphone. So again, just like the other two recorders, you can connect the headphone jack of the camera to the monitor in, and then that's how you're able to just listen to this device, these audio recorder devices, so you'll know for sure that the audio that you're hearing isn't clipping because you're listening to the audio that's going into the camera. That's important for this one, for the BeachTek, because this is not an audio recorder. This is just an XLR / 3.5 millimeter mixer to go into the camera, and it has no recording capabilities like the Tascam or the sound devices. One thing you could do with this is that since there is another out, so there's two outs. You have the stereo out that's supposed to go into the camera, but then you have this headphone out. And if you're not going to use the headphone to monitor, and you're not going to need the monitor in, you're going to actually put the headphones into the camera. What you can do with this other microphone output is that you could, with this dial right here, this controls the volume of the headphone. You can connect an external recorder, a small external recorder, like one of those small Tascam DRL, those devices. I reviewed that in the past, and also Zoom. Zoom makes an audio recorder that actually does 32-bit float. And then you could plug that in, so you could use the BeachTek as another audio recorder by having another device. It's going to add to the cost, but this BeachTek is already less expensive than these two. I believe the Tascam is around $450 to $500. The MixPre can go anywhere to, I think, $650, $700 something dollars. This BeachTek is under $250. Sometimes you can find them on sale or a deal for under $200. So if you buy that and maybe the Zoom or the Tascam ones, which goes about $150 to $200, you'll have two devices and you can use them for different purposes. These I can't really, just listening right now to each of these devices, I can't really tell the difference in audio quality when it's going into the camera. I'm sure when I compare the audio quality, audio recordings of the Tascam internal recording and the sound device internal recordings, I'm probably going to hear higher fidelity, higher quality. But when it's all going into the camera, and if I only want to use the camera audio, these all sound, to me anyways, it sounds very similar. I just wanted to see the differences for myself to see if I could tell, and I can't. So if I'm ever going to use just the camera audio and I don't care about having a backup, I might just go with the BeachTek. This has an internal battery. It's supposed to last for about 10 hours. I think it's 10 hours with the phantom power. If it's not with the phantom power, that's probably going to knock down maybe 30%. So maybe it lasts seven hours. But yeah, so there's my test. Curious to know if you guys heard a difference or not. I didn't.